Okay, so for the excess thin set, I like to use one of these gator blades. They're grinder blades. And you want to remove this either the night before or a few hours before you lay the Ditra, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to saturate some of the plywood with some water so that it's not so dusty. And you don't want it to be this wet when you're applying the Ditra, so you want this to dry out a little bit. But this will eliminate, not eliminate, but this will reduce a lot of the dust that will be created by this. Okay, so you want to wipe down the subfloor first with a damp sponge. Get all the dust off of here. And then your thin set should be almost pourable. So make sure that you're at the wettest ratio when you're mixing this. And just use the flat side of your trowel and work it into the substrate. This is what towel setters consider burning the thin set into the substrate. So this does two things. One, it really gets it into the surface, but two, when I go to comb trowel it, it really makes it nice and even. If you didn't do this, you kind of get blotchy trowel lines. So this makes it easier to trowel. So Ditra requires a 3/16 inch square notch trowel. So that's what you want to be using for that. They do make a trowel specifically for Ditra, called a Ditra trowel, but it's pretty much just a 3/16 inch square notch trowel. So you just cut around the toilet flange. So you just want to keep a expansion contraction joint around the edge, so a 1/4 inch. Keep that away from the entire perimeter, and then I'm just using a grout float to kind of push this all in. So I meant to say, there's not a bad idea to pull this up. Just take a look at the coverage you're getting and make sure that everything's 100% covered. When you see it all kind of suctioning off like that, that's pretty good coverage. So this is not a requirement, but this is just something that I like to do. It just gives me peace of mind that everything's waterproof. But to go up against your walls with the membrane all the way down, all the way around the perimeter. So if you ever had any leakage, you know, it's not going to just go right underneath the walls and down the wall and down into the floor. You've got a little bit more time. So I just like to apply some Now, granted, I'm going to be putting some baseboard up, and they will be nailing through this, but at least the actual corner is going to be well sealed. And then you need a 16th or an 1/8 by 1/8 square notch trowel and comb the joints. Wipe off this excess thinset off the wall so you don't have to drywall mud over that. So then just to do a little corner, cut this right in half, and you'll just split this like that. So we get some thinset underneath that flap. So then the other one, just cut it halfway, creating a corner. Where there's ever a seam that's meeting, you have to put that Kerdi band over top of this area too. Okay, so it might seem a little odd to have plastic and then this membrane and just thinset and thinking that that's going to be waterproof. I had a real hard time with this at the beginning when I first was using this system. I'm like, how is thinset possibly waterproof? Well, there's a lot of science that goes along with it. So basically, this membrane is a special fleece that bonds really tightly with the thinset. So when the thinset dries, it kind of crystallizes into the membrane. And so then water can't pass through those tight molecules that are attached to the fleece. So it is kind of like it's a pretty amazing invention and to a certain extent, but the thinset bonding with the membrane is what makes it watertight. So water can't penetrate through those tight molecules. So that's also why it's really important to make sure that your thinset is really loose. It needs to be able to bond to this thinset well. If it's too thick, it just won't adhere to it very well. Okay, so we got some travertine that we're going to be installing, and it kind of has more of like a Versailles pattern to it. So this is actually going to be make it fairly easy in a lot of ways, because as long as I just stay away from making little slivers against the wall, I should be okay. So let's just lay this out, see what this looks like. And we just got a little bit to cut off the one side, so that should be fine. You know, and then as far as depth goes, we can just check that real quick just to see where it meets up in the doorway. But these type of patterns really do make it easy, because nothing really completely lines up with one another. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter. And that should work fine too. Okay. So really in a smaller room like this, I'm just gonna reference squareness with my shower pan and just one side of the wall. But really, you know, it's not a bad idea to double check the overall width just to see if things change, but in such a small space, yeah, we're all pretty much the same. The only other thing I would say when you're using travertine is to use a white thin set. You don't want to use gray, because gray could possibly darken some of the stones. It can absorb into the back of the stone and then make it darker. So if you go with white, it's usually the safest bet. Okay, so we're going to use a 1/4 by 1/4 inch square notch trowel for this. You don't need anything too extra deep. Plus, this is basically going to be tamped down to the surface, so you don't want to be putting too much thin set down. But you want to fill all the waffles as you're going here. Now, I just set this Ditra an hour ago, and that's one nice thing about this. You can just go ahead and immediately start toweling if you wanted to. So we just take a little scrap piece of the tile itself and then use that as a reference to cut the door jamb.
close people.
Okay, so this is travertine. Our floor is travertine. Before you grout, you want to be using some sealer. And some of the stuff that I use, when it comes to travertine, there's many different sealers. There can still be stuff that just actually just seals it and keeps it the way it looks, or you can get an enhancer, which will kind of darken it, kind of give it that kind of wet look, bring out more of the beauty of the travertine. But it's all in preference, so I personally like the enhancing, which will bring out some of the colors. But what I like to use is this Mapei Enhancing Plus. So you want to do this prior to grouting. They actually say 24 hours before you go ahead and start grouting. So you want to apply it on any surface like this travertine that you're going to be wanting to grout. So we're going to do this border, the shower floor, and the main floor. So we're just going to use a little mini roller to apply it. So just roll it across. It's not going to matter too much if it gets on the ceramic, that'll come right off. So apply it, let it sit there for about 5 minutes, and then wipe off the excess. And that's really all there is to it. So we're just going to roll it on and let it sit for 5 minutes and then remove the excess. So pretty simple process, but it's important to do this if you want the grout to come off of the tile easily. Okay, so we're going to move on to grouting. This is going to be a two-stage process because we're using two different colors. We're going to be using, for the floor, we're going to be doing a beige, and then for the border, we're doing a beige as well. And when you do two tones, you want to have one fully cured before you start applying the second. So in this instance, I didn't get finished, or the tile work still needs to set up for the white tile, so I'm going to be doing the white grout tomorrow, but I want to at least get the grout into this accent. And what I'm going to be using for that is Spectralock 1. This is a pre-mixed grout that doesn't need to be sealed. It's stain resistant, and it really is some great stuff because it has some crack resistance to it, and then like I said, it doesn't stain, it doesn't need sealed. There's like no maintenance with it. So we're going to be using that for the colored portion. So we'll do this and the floor, and then tomorrow we'll do the white grout. Okay, so you don't even have to do anything to this. This is just that you don't have to mix it or anything. It's just ready to go. It's one of the things I really love about this grout, because when I do this border and I do the white, I can go back and touch up with the premix. When I use the epoxy, once I mix it, that's it. So it's nice that it's flexible and I can go back and touch things up. So this is really going to be a simple process of just embedding it into the basically pulling the joints a little bit with your sponge, just smoothing them out. So pay attention to those joints, and then put a little bit more pressure where you need to So I hope this video and demonstration has helped you out and gave you a little bit of insight on what it is to set a travertine floor and all of the components associated with it. Now, all these products that I'm highlighting in this video are all the ones that I have found over the years to be some of the easiest and best materials to use. So be sure to check out the links below in the description below. I have them all there along with all of the other videos that are associated with this bathroom on basically building this custom shower, expanding it, and moving the plumbing. So there's a lot of great resources there. But yeah, please subscribe to my channel. Click that notification bell. That'll alert you for the next video. And then if you have any comments about your own bathroom, I'd be more than happy to help you out. Leave a comment below. And hey, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks so much.